Hare Krishna. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Speaking from Caitanya Caritamrita, Adi-Lila, Chapter 6, Text 10. Se Purushera Amsha Advaita Nahi Kichu Veda Sharira Vishesha Tanra Nahika Vicheda. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Sri Advaita Acharya is a plenary part of that Purusha and so is not different from him. Indeed, Sri Advaita Acharya is not separate, but is another form of that Purusha. So the Purusha is Mahavishnu, and Advaita Acharya, being an incarnation of Advaita Acharya, is non-different from him. Sahaya Karena Tanra Laya Pradhan, Koti Brahmanda Karena Ichaya Nirman. He, Advaita Acharya, helps in the pastimes of the Purush, with whose material energy and by whose will he creates innumerable universes. So the material energy, she belongs to the Purush. She's the energy. The energy belongs to the Purush. So Mother Nature, she's the material energy. And the Purusha, and that's Mahavishnu. And by his will, simply by his will, he creates the innumerable universes. Jagat Mangala Advaita, Mangala Gunadham, Mangala Charitra Sada, Mangala Yanrana. Being a reservoir of all auspicious attributes, Sri Advaita Acharya is all auspicious for the world. His characteristics, activities, and name are always auspicious. Sri Advaita Prabhu, who is an incarnation of Mahavishnu, is an Acharya or teacher. All his activities and all the other activities of Vishnu are auspicious. Anyone who can view the all auspiciousness in the pastimes of Lord Vishnu also becomes auspicious simultaneously. So Mahavishnu, we were just hearing, he's the Purusha who's creating this material world. Advaita Acharya is an incarnation of Mahavishnu, but he is an Acharya, he's coming to teach us about devotional service. So his activities are all auspicious. The activities of Lord Vishnu are all auspicious for all time, for all living entities. So if we just try to understand this, then we will also become auspicious if we are able to understand the pastimes of Lord Vishnu. Therefore, since Lord Vishnu is the fountainhead of auspiciousness, anyone who is attracted by the devotional service of Lord Vishnu can render the greatest service to human society. Imagine, now we were just hearing about humanitarian in Bhagavatam, serving other living entities. But the greatest service to humanity is when we get attracted by devotional service of Lord Vishnu. That is the greatest service. That is the greatest way we can serve humanity. Rejected persons of the material world who refuse to understand pure devotional service as the eternal function of the living entities and as actual liberation of the living being from conditioned life become bereft of all devotional service because of their poor fund of knowledge. So if we refuse to understand, if we just refuse to understand that pure devotional service is the Sanatan Dharma of every living entity. It is the Sanatan Dharma of every living entity, and it is actually the liberation of every living entity from conditioned life. It is what brings the living entity back to his original position as who he truly is. who he truly is. If someone rejects it, who refuses to understand it, then he is not able to get this devotional service. Why? Because not enough knowledge. The knowledge is not complete because of that. In the teachings of Advaita Prabhu, there is no question of fruitive activities or impersonal liberation. Bewildered by the spell of the material energy, however, persons who could not understand that Advaita Prabhu is non-different from Vishnu wanted to follow him with their impersonal conceptions. The attempt of Advaita Prabhu to punish them is also auspicious. So there are some persons who are not able to understand Advaita Acharya's position in truth. If they're not able to understand who he is, they're not able to understand that he is Mahavishnu, but who want to just understand him as the Brahman, who just want to understand him with Brahman, then their knowledge is not complete. And Advaita Acharya is trying to correct them, and that is auspicious. Lord Vishnu and his activities can bestow all good fortune directly and indirectly. So if we at all want to become fortunate, when we say fortune, our good fortune is when we can understand who we truly are. Not material things is not actually good fortune. Why? Because everything material is bad. Why? Because it keeps on still making us think we are the body. So when we say fortune, good fortune means to do with the soul, not to do with the body. And Lord Vishnu and his activities can bestow all good fortune on us, directly and indirectly. In other words, being favored by Lord Vishnu and being punished by Lord Vishnu are one and the same, because all the activities of Vishnu are absolute. So Lord Vishnu's favor or Lord Vishnu's punishment are the same. As we hear, the demons that are killed by the Lord, they get impersonal liberation. Many persons, they strive for millions and millions of life to achieve that kind of liberation. But here, because the demon is killed by the Lord, he immediately gets liberation. So all activities by the Lord are auspicious. According to some, Mangal was another name of Advaita Prabhu. As the causal incarnation or Lord Vishnu's incarnation for a particular occasion, he is the supply agent or ingredient in material nature. So the causal incarnation, who supplies the supply agent or ingredient in material nature? So who is manifesting the elements? That is Advaita Acharya. Advaita Acharya, he is supplying the elements. What are the elements? Earth, water, air, fire, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego. He is an incarnation of Lord Vishnu. So he is not material. He is transcendental. All his activities are spiritual. Anyone who hears about and glorifies him becomes glorified himself. For such activities, free one from all kinds of misfortune. So what is our greatest misfortune is that we have this material body. We think we are the body, we are in the material world. That is our misfortune. By hearing about Advaita Acharya, by glorifying him, we get glorified and we can get free from this material body and be situated in our true position. One should not invest any material contamination or impersonalism in the Vishnu form. So Lord Vishnu, his form is not material. No, it's not material. There is no material goodness, passion, or ignorance in Lord Vishnu's form. He is Vishuddha Sattva, Shuddha Sattva, Shuddha Sattva. And Lord Vishnu's form is not impersonal. He's not impersonal. Everyone should try to understand the real identity of Lord Vishnu, for by such knowledge, one can attain the highest stage of perfection. So if we try to understand, if we try to get this knowledge, if we try to get the knowledge of Lord Vishnu, of Lord Krishna, if we try to understand the real position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then by this knowledge, we can get the highest perfection, highest perfection. So when we say highest perfection and we say we, it means the soul can get highest perfection, not the body. The body is material. We are not the body. It is, we are the soul. So by trying to understand the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the soul gets the highest perfection. Koti Amsha, Koti Shakti, Koti Avatar, Etalana Srije, Purusha Sakala Samsar. Mahavishnu creates the entire material world with millions of his parts, energies, and incarnations. He creates the entire material world with millions of his parts, energies, and incarnations. So there's so many Koti Amsha, millions of parts and parcels are there. Krishna's energies are there. His incarnations are there. But who is the one who's creating it? It is Mahavishnu. Mahavishnu is creating this entire material world. The energy is his. The incarnations are his. The parts and parcels are his. Everything is coming from him. He is creating the material world. So we'll stop here for today. Were there any comments or questions?
No. This is okay. Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening and joining in. Shri Caitanya Caritamrita ki jai, Shila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.